Yo, yo, yo. What up? Hey, I'm in London. Sorry I haven't gotten much footage yet. I did kind of like a crappy time lapse and a little filming on top of a double decker bus. That's kind of like the way to get around town if you're a tourist. It functions as a tour, but it's almost like a taxi as well. So we signed up and got that going, and that's pretty sweet. And I'll queue up some of that for you to take a look at. Nothing special, but it's proof that I'm here. We got a really cool apartment, actually. I'm really impressed with this thing. And let's see if I can turn the camera around. But yeah, we've got like a nice, big, modern kitchen, full dining room area, and 2 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. And when we walk out of the place, it's literally 100 feet to the gates of Buckingham Palace. So I don't know. I mean, this place is 50% cheaper than just like a simple hotel room that was so cramped we could hardly move in it that we got in New York. And in New York, it was like just kind of in an okay part of Manhattan. You know, it wasn't like at the cool place. Not that this, Buckingham Palace is like the cool place. There are like other parts of the city that are, really stunning and probably much more expensive to stay near. But yeah, like I'm really happy and kind of surprised that it seems like the value is much better here than it is in New York. Food prices are slightly better as well. And yeah, I'm just really pleasantly surprised at how nice it is. Everybody seems like a lot more normal. Like in the United States, like it seems like 10% of the people are just like visually, like visibly, you can see them on the street, like are just whack, like literally insane. Here, it just seems like kind of normal folk, most of them, and people are just, I don't know, they have their heads screwed on straight, and it's not just littered with, I don't know, crazy people. So that's a plus for London. So anyway, I'm really liking it. I had somebody say the other day that they find that I'm getting a little bit addictive, and I think I've got a super fan, you guys, which means I'm an influencer now. And as an influencer, I obviously got to do my product sponsor here of this video is Jammy Dodgers. Jammy Dodgers, the delicious cookie filled with apple jelly that is colored and flavored with raspberry flavor. It doesn't have a raspberry filling. It has a raspberry flavored apple filling. Very inventive. But yeah, you got to get your hands on some of these Jammy Dodgers. They paid me big bucks to do that, guys. I told them I wasn't worth it yet. Only one super fan, but they insisted I do it. So there you have it. We'll talk a lot in the future about, if I continue to do this, if I do go and monetize this channel, or not if I do it, but whether or not I should. That's going to be an interesting conversation. But wait till I get to that point where I'm eligible to monetize the channel and turn on ads and start making money that way before we have that big conversation about, whether that's really the right thing for me to do or the right thing really for anybody to do. But anyway, let's get on with the topic for the day. And again, apologies that I'm not out walking around kind of showing you the city while I do this. It's been kind of chaotic, and I just have no adaptive ability whatsoever. So, like, I tried to get up earlier today, and I ate breakfast, and was like, no, and I had to go back to sleep. So by the time I got up and got out the door, like, it was literally like 3:30, which is kind of like what, that's like 10:30 East Coast time. That's about the time I would get out the door. So yeah, I'm a mess here and having trouble adjusting, and it was just rush to go do something before the sun went down. And, the vast majority of the places that I might film are just absolutely like batshit crazy and overwhelmed with just, hordes of people. But kind of in a good way. I like busy places. I didn't used to like cities, but I like it. And yeah, London's just really cool. Anyway, I'm getting all this London and British news in my feed. Google thinks that just because I'm visiting here that I'm like Christian Bale now or something, but it's giving me British news. And I saw something where it was like saying that real estate prices had fallen by more than in the last 14 years or something. And yeah, I think everybody's really curious as to like what's going to happen with the economy. And to me, I think the first step is really understanding economics and going back to fundamentals to understand that. I always use the term Americanomics because we have kind of like this interesting economic place in the world, and the whole philosophy of Americanomics is lend, spend, and pretend, and it's kind of it's kind of incredibly fraudulent and false and doomed to inevitable failure. But at the moment, it still functions, and we retain as Americans our status as the economic powerhouse of the world. The way that this came to be is, any country should be run like a business, right? It should make products and services for sale, and it should sell those things to another country at a profit. The country should be accumulating money and not accumulating debt. Its citizens should be accumulating wealth, not accumulating debt. The opposite is happening. Citizens are running up debts. The government is running up debts. I think the national debt now is something like $33 trillion. We run a huge trade deficit every year, and basically are just like running this country like a failing business and putting all the losses onto the national credit card. And the government is spending wildly and freely and running up the national credit card. We keep bumping up against the debt ceiling again and again and again, and threatening to shut down the government over pulling off these political theatrics, trying to pretend that we aren't going to raise the debt ceiling, which of course we are, because the only alternative is to just completely default. And we're not going to do that. Nobody takes that. That's the hard way out. The easy way out is to just inflate the currency and kind of inflate your way out of trouble. And nobody has the willpower to just shut off the valve and stop the money from flowing in. No way. So anyway, just getting back to like understanding the basics of it, we did that for a long time. That's how America became a very prosperous, wealthy nation. We made textiles using cotton that we grew with slave power, and we were the textile kings of the world and made a ton of money, and started other industries and exported those and became a huge powerhouse. But as the country got wealthy, and as any country gets wealthy, the prices go up, the citizens demand more money, and then things can no longer, products and services can no longer be made and be sold to other countries because they're too expensive, because there's other countries that have cheaper labor, and they can start making products and services for less that are of the same quality, and they can outcompete a wealthy nation. And so the wealthy nation at that point, who has amassed a lot of wealth, basically just starts buying all this stuff from other nations, making them wealthy while running up huge deficits and debts of their own, and slowly but surely bankrupting themselves in the process. And that's what the United States is doing. But the United States has a really specific and unique position in the global economy, that we are the world's reserve currency. We struck up a deal with Saudi Arabia back in the day, making sure that all oil that is sold in the world is priced in US dollars. And that protects us, that allows us to create money without the value of that money, plummeting as much as it would, if we were forced to suffer the consequences of that. Unfortunately, if you look at all the schools of economics across the world, the main focuses they all believe the same thing. They're all Keynesian economists, and they all have this, similar beliefs. They all come from the same school of thought, and just a few hundred people are basically in charge of the global economy, and they all basically have the same basis, the same education. And a lot of people in the world are like, they're tanking the economy. This is planned. This is a planned demolition. Dude, it's nothing like that at all. Like, I know what these economists know, how they've been educated. I know what they think. I know what they're trying to do. Everybody with any kind of economics education knows what they're trying to do, and they are following the playbook that they have learned, and that the leading minds in economics all vouch for. So, there's nothing really controversial about it. There's not some big, grand, intentional demolition going on of the economy. That's really foolish. They're just following their playbook and doing what they do. And their general belief is, by changing, the flow of money, by, printing more money and lowering interest rates during times of financial stress or economic downturn, that floods the economy with money. That's the lending and spending and pretending that you're not running up debts. It's a very artificial means of preventing economic decline and trying to keep the party going. That's really all that the American economics is at this point, is keeping the party going. Fortunately, the rest of the world and all the central bankers follow the American ideas, and they follow the American playbook. So we create a bunch of money and keep interest rates really low and run up the books on our national debt, and trillions of dollars of stimulus money. Trump was wild and crazy with the spending and always was pressuring the central bankers to lower interest rates. Biden comes in and does the same thing. Presidents before them, Obama, Bush, same type of thing. Lower interest rates and dump a bunch of money into the economy to try to stimulate it. And it just creates false growth. It's lending and spending and pretending. We can't lend and spend our way to prosperity. That's not the formula. So I get really, I'm excited. Anybody who I think really fully understands the game that's being played, which is very much like a kind of a Ponzi scheme in a way, is eager for the economy to undergo some kind of dramatic upheaval. It's not fair to the rest of the world. It's not fair to the poor, because the whole game is to keep prices from ever falling. I mean, Lord, heaven forbid that prices ever go down. Let's always keep them going up. That sounds like a great idea. It's all it is about inflating asset prices, real estate and stocks and all that stuff. It's all about inflating those prices to create wealth that way. So a bunch of people have a bunch of investors have a lot of money. They've borrowed money, against the money that they have to buy even more of these assets and equities and whatnot. And they're making a ton of money, and it basically seeds all of the economy with all this extra money. But, the downside is that, anytime the price of something goes up, all this money chases it, making the price go up even farther. Well, what happens when the price stops going up or starts going down? You have all these people invested, way more than there should be, because the price was artificially made to go up, and everybody jumped in, and they borrowed money to jump in even harder. And then when it moves in the other direction, it's absolutely cataclysmic, and everybody jumps out at the same time, and it causes the prices to fall extremely hard. And so in the modern economy, we're seeing just wilder and wilder swings. The good times are crazy good. The bad times are crazy bad. It's just creating a more violent roller coaster up and down. And again, for me, this is just another strike against, the modern capitalist economy. This causes a tremendous amount of turmoil for people in the real world. Real citizens are just, being subjected to this is brutal. people making a bunch of money because they live in a nice house, while people who can't afford a house just watch their cost of living go up. They just pay more in rent, while people who live in a nice house by the beach are literally making, millions of dollars every decade off of their increasing real estate values. This kind of stuff just can't go on. It's not fair. It's overly tumultuous, and it's destined to failure, because we are running the United States as a failing business that's running up massive debts, and those debts are accelerating. I mean, the projections for where the national debt is going to be in another 4 or 5 years are like 45 trillion, 47 trillion. So it's a real mess, and we'll see how it all plays out. But the main thing, I think, is just to block out a lot of the crazy jargon and complexities that have been attributed to the economy. It's not really that complex when you remove all that gobbledygook and get down to the basics. The basics is the way to build an economy is to sell products and services at a profit and accumulate wealth. And we're not doing that. Citizens aren't doing that. Governments aren't doing that in the Western world. And the Western world is headed towards an inevitable cliff. I don't know when that cliff is coming, but it's definitely going to come. And I think I'm fine with it. It's a just penance for playing this silly game and kind of running this Ponzi scheme that we have, for the last couple of decades, to try to kind of live off the fumes of all the economic gasoline that we created in the 20th century and the 19th century to build this, economic world superpower that is the United States. So anyway, interested to hear your thoughts. What do you think is going to happen in the next year? Are we going to see death by inflation? Are we going to see death by deflation? Is the price of everything going to come crashing down? Is real estate going to crash like it did again in 2008? Are stocks going to crash? To me, I see two different schools of thought being talked about all the time. There's the Peter Schiff, mode, which is inflation is going to keep going on, and we can't control inflation, and we can't, basically control inflation without wrecking the economy and tanking all the banks. And then there's more of like the other side of things, which is we're about to have this huge economic implosion. We're going to reverse from inflation to, massive deflation, and stock market crashes, real estate crashes, and et cetera, et cetera. I kind of lean a little bit towards the latter, but I've watched almost every single one of Peter Schiff's podcasts, and I've been watching him for literally 15 years. So since 2020, he's been right about he just called it perfectly since 2020, everything that's happened. I just couldn't believe it. I didn't think that it would be this hard to get inflation under control. I figured raising interest rates even just a little bit would just cause a huge stock market crash and real estate crash, with rising mortgage rates and everything. And it feels like it's right on the verge of a collapse. But at the same time, just as we think the recession's coming and the economy's gonna take a dive and employment's gonna jump up, it seems like we keep getting news to the contrary, that employment's great and surprisingly good, and inflation is surprisingly tricky and hard to get down. So we'll see how those two basic forces play out. But I kind of feel like an inevitable crash is coming here in the next year, but we'll see. I've felt that way for a while, and it just keeps getting strung along year after year after year after year after year. It's been 15 years almost now since we've had a decent, stock market crash, and just the overall market crash, which is historically a really, really long time to go without a major recession of any kind. So Anyway, peace. That's it for me, and I'll see you guys again tomorrow. And hopefully out on the streets of London, living it up. Peace.